Oh, hello, and welcome to Adente Rigmortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, D's Tens are evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have The Fishing Trip, part of the Wicker Saga. So, yeah, this one's another Wicker Saga story by Shadow Swimmer 77. You can check out The Fishing Trip on creepypasta.wiki. I think it's also on creepypasta.com, but the wiki is where we got it from. And as a quick note for this one, the author's note for that kind of accompanies this story. The story is an entry in Koromo's Mythology 2015 challenge. The topic being Norse mythology. And basically what that challenge was to write a short story, like 500 to 2,000 words long, involving various, involving something to do with various mythologies from around the world. So, but let's give our initial recommendations before we get too far ahead. I'm going to recommend this one.
I am going to partially recommend this one.
I'm going to scroll to the bottom of the notes and see what I say. I'm going to recommend this one.
Okay. Well, let's find out why we gave it recommendations or partial recommendations. Starting with the rundown, featuring The Rock, except not The Rock, because I think we actually got Charlie's name.
You just said his name.
Yeah, I wrote it into my notes like his name's Charlie because I remember like, yeah, for fuck's sakes, Charlie. That's in the story. Okay, good. Well, because like
The way you worded that, I think you got Charlie's name.
Here's the thing. Here's a little breakdown of like behind the curtain kind of thing. I finished reading the story and then I immediately went to write the rundown, like synopsis.
The whole movie.
But
I
hate you. And then so like I based it off my memory, and so I was like, well, it's not narrator. I think I remember here like the professor in the story calling him Charlie. So I'm gonna go with that.
His last name is listed too.
Is it also?
Yeah, that's the first thing you hear is like what does he call him?
Oh, Mr. Walker. Yeah, Charlie Walker. Chuck Walker.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so anyway, yeah, this rundown of the fishing trip. So Charlie is out at sea on a Korean fishing boat, positioned somewhere above the Marianas Trench, with his girlfriend Helen and her cryptozoological father, Professor Renaud Olick. They have been out here for weeks with a modified crane and meat hook, using freshly cut ox heads as bait. Like they have a bunch of live oxen down in the below decks, and they've been basically like killing them, like shooting, punching them in the using that like air gun to punch them in the cranium to die, and then sawing off their heads to have like the most like kind of like terrorized like it basically it's like a Pennywise sort of situation where like they're trying to like have the adrenaline and the chemicals that are caused by fear to like marinate the meats and the brain. Because according to the legends that Professor Olick has been researching, that is what will appetize what they're hunting for, because they are out there, they've been out there for weeks trying to bait a creature. This is all in the pursuit of catching Jormungandr, the world serpent of Norse mythology, based on research from Professor Olick. Suffice to say, tensions get high, and not just with the crew, who seem itchy about the whole situation, despite Professor Olick doubling their pay. It seems the lack of any world serpent biting their lure for like this amount of time is causing strain on Charlie and Helen's love life. Like it goes into like some of their like how they met and all that kind of stuff, and like how they've basically been like just like bunking up quite a lot in the last couple of months, and like now it's kind of just petering out. One night Charlie wakes up to a rumbling, and Helen isn't in the bed next to him. he manages to get onto the deck to find the skies and seas, which had been previously clear and calm for weeks, are now raging with a storm. The crew are also rebelling against the captain, and a brawl soon erupts. All of the while, Professor Alec and Helen seem to be back at the crane, oblivious to the dangers around them. When Charlie reaches them, he's horrified to find that they have changed. Professor Alec is now a younger and more wolfish version of himself, and Helen, cackling madly, is now half woman, half rotting corpse. And then the waves intensify, and it is all Charlie can do to fasten himself with ropes to the boat. And as the ship kind of threatens to capsize or what have you. As the ship is teetering and threatens to capsize, he sees a great sea serpent rise from the ocean, miles and miles long. The storm above them also seems to be caused by a figure who plunges down toward the great beast, and with a great blinding light, the ship finally breaks and begins to sink. Alas, his knots were too good, and Charlie realizes that he is going to drown and comes to accept that. And so he does, leaving the scene of this mythic event. Finn. So, with that out of the way.
Shark went by.
Yeah. A little shark went by.
Shark fin.
Yep. But with that out of the way, I suppose we'll move on to everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions. At this point, I've got one. This is actually something that kind of happens across the story, but like I'm going to touch on it like with one sentence or one of the quotes.
Right.
Alec and Helen are completely absorbed in their work and in no mood to socialize. So yeah, this is something that I realized about this point, about this like sentence in the story. I realized like this is kind of an odd thing to me, that Charlie is referring to them as Alec and Helen. Shouldn't it be like Renard or Mr. Alec? Since Alec is the surname of Reynard and Helen. Right? Like,
well, yeah, but he
Yeah.
refers to him as like Professor Alec.
no, he does
Like,
it. Sorry.
He does. Like, I can see it right here on my screen. I do my best to follow Professor Alec's orders. He refers to him as Professor Alec.
That's the one time. Like for the rest, most of the story, he only uses Alec. He doesn't use Professor. Like
Because he only calls him Professor Alec, so he doesn't call him on a first name basis.
no, I still think it's weird that like because like Alec
I
is
called
also
you on a last name basis for the entirety we were in high school.
I mean that's true. You did call me cultist.
Yeah, you were cultist the entire time.
I know, but like, that's not that's not what I have a problem with this. Like, if it was just Professor Alec that he's calling Alec all the time, that's fine. Problem is though, like Helen is also an Alec, according to like as far as he knows.
His girlfriend. I think he's on a little bit more personal level with her.
I don't. I'm just saying it sounded really weird to me that like he's using Alec for like the last name for the professor, and then but like also like right after he also saying and Helen. So it's like, yeah.
Well, him and the professor are not on first name basis, as Oleg says Mr. Walker.
Then you know what? It should fucking say professor or like the professor and the professor
Doesn't
and Helen.
sleep with the professor yet.
No, I know. I'm
That's
just
the
saying, like, I understand that. I'm just saying, like, it seemed weird to me that like he kept saying Alec when it should be like the professor or like whatever. Yeah. But yeah, that's my one grievance of the story is that like it just seemed odd to me that was happening. But
Fair enough.
moving on.
Mm.
Mikey, these stands for evil.
I have a conjunction junction.
Ooh.
And next stop, Conjunction Junction. Doot, doot.
It pulls jerkingly against the rope, securely fastened to the ring through its nose, while emitting low, panicked bellows. its eyes rolling wildly in their sockets. It's no secret we're sleeping together. That's how I was conned into going on this little cruise after all. But I still don't feel the need to blatantly parade the fact around in front of her father. Its eyes rolled back in its skull, and its slack tongue lolls out of its mouth before the ox collapses to its knees and finally slumps to the floor on its side. It catches briefly when it hits vertebrae, but she pulls the blade free with a sickening cracking noise of snapping bone before repositioning and continuing her grisly work. And wait we do. It's just as well that the sailors mind their business, as Oleg is adamant only he and Helen operate our makeshift fishing lure. And gods and monsters. Finn.
Okay, that got really weird at the beginning,
And really weird at the end.
and also really weird at the end. But like, like I choked up for a second.
Yeah, me
like,
too.
Like I almost spit take when it was like like talking about like the bull and like the nose and some of that. And like, it's no secret we had been sleeping together. It's like,
Sleeping
I'm
together.
sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this was a Minotaur story. Although honestly, early on, that's kind of what I thought this was going. I didn't realize it was going into like Norse stuff. I thought it was going to be like more of a Greek thing, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And then at the end, it's like he's in charge of doing the crane and the baiting and stuff, and also the monsters. Like, so they just have like monsters like on standby that work for them basically while they're doing their job.
Yeah, this is an SNTF department.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And for those unaware, Mikey strings these sentences together into a story to highlight all the sentences in a story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ends, or buts, because there's always better words to use.
Indeed. All right, gamer. Do we have a grammar in yellow?
I got a couple. During the final battle, the serpent will confront its father Loki-hated enemy Thor, resulted in their mutual destruction. So I feel like there should be an extra comma in there.
Yeah.
So it'd be during the final battle, the serpent will confront its father Loki's hated enemy, Thor, resulting in their mutual destruction.
Yeah, but it is a bit of a tongue twister, or like just like kind of there's a lot going on in that sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this last one might be a nitpick, but whatever.
I mean, I'm currently lounging in the chair for my Oleg thing, so
yeah,
it's fine.
Lightning bolts the size of houses splash down from the sky, accompanied by peals of thunder so loud they make my head ring. Personally, I would prefer the width of houses, because like the shape of a house and the shape of lightning are very different.
Wait, does it say the shape?
It says the size of houses.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can kind of I can see like why they're using it for the
size
vagueness
of a house.
Yeah, I can see
think
how
of a rectangle.
Yeah, you want like I can see why you're getting why you're getting the imagery you're getting. I think width is probably the better option.
Yeah,
honestly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For a second there, I was like, wait, did I miss something? Did it actually say the shape of houses? It's like, what the fuck?
No,
this is some like Dorothy bullshit, like killing the. Anyway, sorry, go on.
But also no. So yes,
yeah.
I would prefer width because that's the only thing that makes sense in this situation.
Yeah.
Also, it'd be kind of hard for him to tell the size of it because, like, how does he know how far away these are?
I mean, it's just
if they're hitting right beside him,
yeah,
then okay. But it doesn't really say how close they're hitting, just that there's thunder coming down. The size.
Well, because you can guess how close lightning striking you is based off the how close you get the thunderclap, roughly. So,
I guess, but it's like if he was seeing the mainland and he was seeing the lightning hit the ground next to a house, and then you'd be like, okay, that's the same size as the fucking house. Okay,
Yeah.
but he doesn't.
You know, he's just being flowery. It's like, oh my god, it's huge, like a house.
Yes.
But yeah.
Either way, width of the house would be better, man.
All right.
And that's all I got left for the grammar and yell.
Okay. Then I suppose we'll move on to actual thoughts. I'm going to start with the image that accompanied this story. Yeah, it's an image of Jormungandr, or at least a large sea serpent. So it fits the story, except I think it might have done better being at the end of the story, or maybe even like mid story, just like so it didn't give it quite away so soon.
Like when it shows up.
Yeah, or like even like when the professor's talking about Jormungandr.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Because
yeah.
the picture also looks like it's from a book too.
Yeah. Yeah, like it could be easy like from like a book or something like that. Like I know that it seems like a lot of like the Wicker Saga stories specifically use an image to like as like a title card when you're like looking through like the listings and stuff. But it's just like it's just kind of, I don't know, it's sort of, I almost felt it was like unnecessary to have because it kind of gives away what we're in for the story a little bit.
I suppose.
Too early on anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have anything else about the image, or
it's a little blurry?
Yeah,
I mean, it's higher quality versions of it online, honestly.
Yeah, well, again, I think it's more used as a thumbnail for the story than anything.
Yes, it looks like it's a thumbnail taken one because the resolution's so low.
Yeah. But
I would argue that it's low resolution to make it look more quote unquote real, but it's clearly like a painting or a drawing or something, so it's not meant to be real.
No.
But there are higher quality versions if that wants to be updated to one that's clearer.
Well, no, this is why I said like I think it's like the low quality small thumbnail size version because that's what its purpose is. It's a thumbnail for the story when you're going through like the listings on creepypasta.wiki. Like I don't think this is actually like it may not even it's for the story, but it's like not for the story. If you know what I mean, like. It's just there to like as almost like a like a title card for when you're like browsing through the creepypastas. Yeah. And usually on websites you want those to be like low res or like small files. Although so I'm just realizing like I'm just like I browsed over the tab for the creepypasta.wiki. My it has like high memory usage. Like it's currently at 1.2 gigs. Just the wiki site.
Hell?
Yeah, like my Google Doc.
Have a lot of random shit on their site.
I that's what I think it is. I think it's like all the like fucking like ads and stuff. Because like my Google Doc is only coming in at like 1.26 or 169 megabytes.
Yeah, I'm sitting at 600 megabytes for the website, and that's with 2 other tabs open that I probably don't need open.
Yeah. But yeah,
an ad blocker would help probably because I have an ad blocker on mine.
I should get an ad blocker. Yeah. But anyway, that's not the story. That's just like some random internet guff for the website. But yeah, I'll move on to the next thing I have here. Due to his lean, sharp features, surprisingly cunning intellect, and most probably his parents' choice of names, Aulic has been dubbed the Fox, after the French fable in pretty much every circle he inhabits. So I had to actually look up like French fables involving foxes. And I was like, huh, cool. There's a whole myth cycle of stories from the Middle Ages involving an anthropomorphic fox named Reynard. Hence why the nickname connection with Dr. Reynard Aulic. Neat. Yeah, it's basically... Yeah, it's like the fables seem to be like sort of like don't do what Goofus does, or like it's almost like a trickster character that's like outsmarting other anthropomorphic animals in stories and such,
or humans in this one.
Yeah, or yeah. Well, it's just like a random nickname for this character, but
also fitting because he's tricking all the humans in this.
True, but he's not a fox; he's a wolf.
He's called the Fox.
He's called the Fox. We'll get to it. I'll get to more into I'll get more into that in a minute. Hang on.
Okay.
Yeah. Not yet, but soon. It's actually like the. I got one other like thing, and then I'll get to that part. Anyways, moving on. The question of what to do if we manage to actually hook the beast still remains ominously unanswered. And at this point, I am hoping that we fail in our search. Seriously, in the weeks or more that you first asked, like, what are you guys going to do when you actually catch the if or when you actually catch the monster, and the fact that like Professor Alec did not like respond or like was like kind of dodging the question, you never went and tried to like get confirmation on that question in the weeks that followed. He just
It's
or
kind of weird.
yeah, or like was Professor Alec just like continuing to like gatekeep that information from you? Like was he just constantly dodging the question as you over the weeks? Like that, if that's the case, that should maybe be added into the story. Just like even in like the little summarization of like, oh, like the weeks, like days turned to days went into the next, and like weeks went by and still nothing. I kept asking what would happen if we actually caught the creature, and Dr. Alec or Professor Alec kept dodging my questions. But like, yeah, it just seems weird that like he asked it the one time, like at the very beginning, and then got like no answer, and then just like dropped it, even though he like asked, he like still like it still like swam in his head for those weeks.
It might also be because it's the father of his girlfriend, so he doesn't want to piss him off.
Yeah, he's already
Stay
on
in
bad
his good
terms with
books.
Beans. Yeah, he already
Yeah.
seems to be on his shit list. So,
Mhm.
and then we get to this part here, this story, or this quote here. The man facing me bears a resemblance to Alec, certainly, but only just. He's younger. His face holds an agelessness that makes him seem paradoxically youthful and ancient in equal amounts. His eyes are alight with the glow of madness. His mouth open in a wolfish grin. Too late. He's too late to stop me now, he giggles. He giggles with like a lunatic. We have found it! Shrieking peals of laughter accompany him, and I turn to where Helen was operating the controls. Gone is my stunning Valkyrie, replaced by a hideous creature. Half of her body is covered in pale, perfect skin. The other, rotting lumps of flesh, the same purplish hue as the flecks in her eyes. Oh! So they're Fenrir and Hel, the siblings of Jormungandr from Norse mythology.
So it seems.
Yeah, so that's what I meant earlier. I was like, oh, he's not actually a fox, like the nickname, like everybody gave him the nickname for. He's actually the wolf. That's what I was getting at earlier. Yeah,
I see.
because like Fenrir, yeah, because according to Norse mythology, Loki had 3 children. Fenrir, technically he had 4 children: Sleipnir, Fenrir, Hel, and Jormungandr. Like he basically birthed monsters.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like I honestly do not know why this kept popping in my head early on in the story. I was wondering if it was going to be revealed that Professor Alec and perhaps even Helen were like immortal beings or Norse gods, but and like it was going to be real that like, they're not like for some reason I think what it was like I was expecting like the twist, there was going to be a twist where like Professor Alec and Helen were not daughter and father, but like either like partners or like spouse, like a spouse themselves of like immortal beings, like maybe even like the Norse gods themselves. But apparently they are not. They were the children of one. So, but like it's weird. Like I don't know why it kept popping in my head early on in the story. It's just like I guess I was just like the way the story was going. I was like just expecting there to be a plot twist where like they weren't as who they seemed.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then my next thing here. In that moment, my mind breaks. From out of the sea protrude miles and miles of glistening serpentine coils. The scales are the dull color of seaweed encrusted with barnacles and all matter of ocean life. An enormous head the size of a mountain erupts from the depths. Blind white eyes fixed above a cavernous mouth glistening with dozens of rows of fangs. Opening its great maw wide, the Leviathan lets loose its battle cry. It roars so loud, I feel my eardrums shatter in my skull. In the clouds high above, I barely make out the tiny figure of a man at the heart of the storm. Bolts of lightning seem to coalesce around him, filling him with their impossible power. Shining like the sun, the figure streaks out of the sky like a comet, flying directly at the head of the serpent. So I got a couple of things here. So apparently Norse mythology being real, or at least something parading as such, is a thing in the Wicker Saga universe.
Also in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, kind of, but like it kind of does make sense because like we did get like in the story, the soldier, the creature that was underneath the desert, like in those caves, was called like a djinn or something, or an ifrit. So it's if anything, like maybe so I guess anything could be possible. Like I mean, it's not just like the Wicker Saga isn't just bound to like one culture or like one mythology. Also, it also kind of connected to that how we kind of talked about like that creature in that story. These beings could just be immortal or eldritch entities similar to the powers in those other stories of cult, and the cultures have just wrapped a connective name to them. Again, similar to like what was theorized about the Ifrit, like the creature was just like given that name by the people that lived there. Yeah. So like Jormungandr could just be like the name that was given, or like Thor and Hel and Fenrir are just the names for these immortal beings and the eldritch entities that are combating each other. So
yeah, it's not like they come down with a name tag that says "Hello, my name is Thor."
Yeah, it's really it's it is the character, or like the professor says it's Jormungandr, but he's also like parading himself as a crypto archaeologist or a
so whatever the creature's real name is, he probably knows it.
Yeah, but he's using human terms for or at least the modern vernacular for it. And the second idea I had from this, like as the creature's like coming out of the water and stuff like that, this is sort of disconnected from the story, but I just like the idea of like the world serpent, like Jormungandr, had me thinking something like, what if Jormungandr was a metaphor or like an allegory for the tectonic plate, or like the fault lines around the tectonic plates, like something like specifically like the globe spanning seams where like the Earth's crust like interact with each other and stuff like that, like sort of like the geological like lines across like under the ocean that like basically connect across the entire like globe. And it's just like on a mythological level, that's where mythologically, like that's where like what the allegory is for Jormungandr is those tectonic lines, or perhaps those tectonic lines is where the actual mythological creature Jormungandr has been buried, like his corpse.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I just had like it was just like an idea I kind of like had as it was going into like this as they're hunting down this creature from Norse myth, supposedly in like the Pacific Ocean, and it's like, oh well, like it's close to like one of the tectonic plates areas, so it's like maybe that's why it's there. Yeah, just an idea that popped in my head. It's unrelated to the story itself, but it's semi connected to the material.
Yeah.
And my last actual thought here starts with this quote: "As the storm continues to rage, the surety of my fate becomes clear. I relax as the raging waters roll over me, ultimately accepting the inevitability of what is to come. I breathe in deeply, welcoming water into my lungs, my only thought that I may be one of the lucky ones. Soon even that thought is lost as I sink deeper, my mind as black as the seas that embrace me. Down, down, down into the depths I fall, lost to the world of men and gods and monsters." And so Charlie died. But wait, dead men tell no tale, yet a dead man told this one.
Interesting.
Yeah, it seriously is. I was surprised that our narrator died at the end. But at the same time, like given the mythic themes of the story and like what was going on, it sort of made sense. Like even the fact that these kind of like this kind of like first person POV story like can have like the narrator just die at the end. Like it's a common thing in literature for like when they're even with this kind of POV. But also, who's to say that Charlie doesn't end up in Niflheim, the Norse realm of the dead? And so
this
is
where he's writing this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so he's just writing this down, or just telling this to like some other dead folk in Niflheim, because the reason why he ended up in Niflheim is because Helen, or Hell, is the ruler of that domain.
Oh yeah.
So basically, like, because he borked the goddess of death, he ended up in the Norse Hell. Literally, because he was in the Norse Hell, he ended up in the Norse Hell.
Wow.
But I'll be here all night, guys. Try the veal. Get it? Because they were using ox or cows. Anyway, I'll just stop now. I'm getting hang on, I'm getting a letter from off stage. Get the hell off the stage. Yeah, I'm done. Mikey, the E stands for evil. Your actual thoughts.
All right. So, let's see here. I'll start at the end of my notes and work back.
Okay. That's a choice.
So, opening its great maw wide, Leviathan lets loose its battle cry. Its roar so loud I feel my eardrums shatter in my skull. So he's deaf now.
Yep.
Yes.
And then later, the beast rears up to meet its foe, and on impact, the world is enveloped in an incredible blast of white light, brighter than the core of an atomic bomb. So he's now blind.
Yes.
Yep.
So I can understand why he gives up at the end. It's like, I'm deaf and blind. I'm just going to go down with the ship.
Yeah.
And because the waters are probably so cold, he's also now numb to the touch.
So we can't. Yeah. He has no senses anymore.
And because it's the salt water, he can barely smell anything except for salt water.
Wow.
All
got
the
fucked up
senses,
real good.
yeah, all the senses are just deadening around him.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of what it's like. He's like, just end it. Just end it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
No, you win, GG.
Yeah. What's that like? It's like he starts see. Oh, he can't see it, but like he starts like envisioning in his head the "you died" like screen, and he's just like finally.
Yes. All right. And my next actual thought here. Exchanging her air gun for an enormous bone saw,
Boom.
Helen enters the pen and begins working on the dead ox's neck. The metal teeth slide through the muscle and tissue as Helen manipulates the saw as smoothly as a lumberjack. And my question here is, do lumberjacks use bone saws?
No, but they're using like the way she's moving the saw. It's like the grace of a lumberjack. It's not actually a lumberjack's motion. It is metaphorical.
Yeah.
Also, what?
It's just me being critically silly.
That's fair. Yeah, that is 100% fair. Also, I mean, as soon as you said like bone saw, I immediately I couldn't help myself but say bone saws ready.
You probably said that while you read it.
I literally did.
Yeah.
I don't know if it came up, but or if it was heard, but yeah.
Well, I didn't hear you do that because I wasn't there when you read the story at first.
Oh no, I thought
I
meant okay. No, I thought you meant when he was narrating or like reading that exact scene. I think I immediately like went bone saw.
First thing I heard was bone, and then you stopped.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And then my next actual thought here, which will be my last. Imagine my shock when my lame attempts to talk to her were accepted and even encouraged. 2 weeks later, we were fucking like it was going out of style. Our relationship stayed on that course for about 6 months when she informed me that she would be going with her father for an extended trip during the summer as part of his research. Would I like to accompany them? The fact that she'd been naked when she asked probably helped guide my decision. So for me, this section reads like it was written by a horny teenager that doesn't get any sex. Because he's like, oh man, I got so much sex. Like, there's sex upon sex upon sex.
For 6 months.
Mhm.
He was just comatose in bed.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I understand, like, I the ending part there, like, I understand, like where it's going is like, oh yeah, like the fact that she was naked when she asked if I want to come, like, with her and her father to this, like, fishing on this voyage out at sea. Like, he was definitely thinking with the other head.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is kind of funny. It's like, so dear, do you want to come with me? I gotta go with I gotta go with my father on a fishing trip for several weeks or months at sea. Do you want to come with us? It's just like she's asking this, like, while she's in recline naked. It's like,
One thing I don't get is,
Yeah.
like, why did they need him at all?
I think honestly, I think it's just like, I was expecting there to be like a sacrifice or something, but no.
If
Like,
the professor is, like, technically like a demigod or some shit,
they're
what the
both
hell?
demigods.
That's what I'm saying. Don't cut me
Yeah.
off.
Sorry,
If the professor is a demigod, like, is he not strong enough to hold the head of a bull or an ox? Sorry, like, I get that.
yeah, like, I mean, well, I know that, like, maybe it's a case of, like, they're not just parading as mortals. Like, they they have lost some of their power because they haven't been near their own kin, or like near, like, one of the bigger kin. Or it definitely seemed like it was a facade, like, the whole thing. So, like, maybe they just did it to, like, keep up appearances.
I guess, but like, she could have just said, "I'm going with my father on a trip,"
Yeah.
and then Charlie's like, "Oh, can I come with?" And then she's like, sure."
Yeah, yeah,
Like, that would have made more sense.
yeah. Like, I was definitely suspicious that, like they needed him for something, but, like, really by the end they didn't need him at all.
No,
Like, he's
not
just
at all.
he's just a casualty, like the Korean crew, like, of the boat.
Mhm. Yeah, I kind of wish
Mhm.
that he shoehorned himself into it, and they're like, "Oh shit, why is he fucking
Which
here?"
which would also explain why Professor Oleg had a little bit of animosity at the beginning toward him and stuff like that. Or I guess throughout the story, he
Yes,
kind of has
yes.
this animosity.
Like,
Because
he'd be
he
like,
was
"I
just like,
never really got along with him, but he's, like, really annoyed with me now." For
I don't
some
know
reason.
why.
I don't
Like,
know
I
what I
never,
did.
yeah. Like, yeah, I guess Helen, like, didn't actually need him, or I guess he was just really good in bed. So, like, Helen kept him around.
Yes.
Well, but he survived 6 months of sex, crazy sex,
Yeah, of
for
demigod. Yeah.
and he should have had death by snoo snoo, you know?
Yeah. Especially given that she's like a physical, like, specimen of a human being. Like, is described, like, she's like a very well toned, like, athletic,
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
Valkyrie style. Like, she's described as a Valkyrie many times. So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was definitely a
Yeah.
death by snoo snoo situation that he passed. And so I guess, like, she just, like, kept him around as a pet, or, like, as a sex toy.
Something to pass the time.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's I was definitely thinking, like, that's the one thing that the story did subvert my expectation. Also, was like, I was expecting him to end up being, like, used as a sacrifice. Like, all right, we're gonna push you up. Now that we've lured Jormungandr up with the cow heads, here's the other sacrificial cow.
Mhm.
It's like, why did we have this catapult on board?
What? Why am I on it? Why am I tied up by ropes? Is this a kink thing, Helen? Yeah, it was
If
that
you went too heavy into it, though, it would just be
it
silly.
would, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, we're
Hmm.
really just saying it because it's critically silly. Like that's what
Yes,
we do on
of
the
course.
show.
Mhm.
Not that
But,
it would
like,
make the story
yeah.
better.
No. But it does like our point still stands. Like it is kind of odd that like he was just there. Like she just wanted him there for no reason.
Yeah, I wish he was explained a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, with that suggestion of like, she says that she has to go, and then
Mhm.
Charlie's like asks if he can come along, and then
Or if
she's
he's- yeah.
forced to be like, I guess.
Or like he's like
or
adamant because like the
Yeah.
sex was really good. So
Yeah.
like again, he was probably like he was thinking with his other head for like most of that.
To get out of the gutter, because it seems like I'm the only one who's able to.
Sorry.
I was thinking along the lines of him being like, well, your father doesn't really like me too much. I think me coming along to help would really help with our bond, right? And she's like, yeah, I guess you're right. I can't say no to that. I'll ask him.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of actually it is sort of something I kept seeing on like TikTok and Twitter, or especially around October. It's like, hey guys, if you're suddenly getting the attention of goth girls this season, just remember it is the season of the witch. They might be trying to lure you into the woods to sacrifice you. Like, so like that's what I think like might also been why I was like, suspecting it like the whole time, but like it is just odd that it never
know
like
why I was suspecting it the whole time?
why.
Because before reading this, I watched over dinner. I watched a movie called Firewalker. It's a Chuck Norris comedy movie. He's surprisingly good in a comedic role. Where the lead actress is trying to get them to go to like some place where like she knows that there's gold. And by the time she gets there, there's some like Native American guy who like wants to sacrifice her and all that.
Mhm.
So like I had sacrifice on my mind the entire time.
So I guess this is our connective tissue time.
Kind of. Even though there was no sacrifice in this.
No, but like we had that suspicion or that we had
suspicion.
that suspicion in our heads throughout this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, I do agree. Like I think him pushing himself into the situation would have been better or would have made more sense than like what because unless the author is trying to just subvert expectations is like, yeah, no, he was just there because like Helen really wanted him there for like the odd time like they do snoo snoo.
But they also did zero snoo snoo there.
Especially, yeah. Well, as time went on, like as the weeks went on, the tension started building. And then they weren't doing it as much. But
I don't think they were doing it at all when they were on the ship.
I don't know. Maybe like early on. Maybe it was
they're
early
in close
on.
quarters and sharing a room with the dad.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna like it's probably gonna be like a killjoy situation. Anyway, yeah, it's a valid or a valid like argument, I guess, as to like why.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, the main reason why is because we need a character to tell the story.
Yeah, no, that is yeah. Otherwise, it's just like yeah. So I had this really cool like chick for like 6 months, and then she had to go out to like sea with her dad, and then they just never came back.
That's the whole
I guess that's the fish that got away. That's the end of the story. Yeah.
I mean, I guess the story could have had like Helen as the main character.
Yeah,
That
but
just
then
have her change at the end.
yeah, just have it be revealed at the very end that our narrator is actually the monster.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's yeah.
Mhm. Let's send them actual thoughts.
Okay. Then we're on to Gamer in Yellow.
Where am I?
Where the hell am I?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so right at the start, the first couple of lines are, "Hold the head steady, Mr. Walker. I don't want to cock this up. Swelling waves cause the ship to roll beneath my feet as I do my best to follow Professor Oleg's orders. Unfortunately, the Ox is not cooperating." So it took until the third line for me to get a proper visual of this, because for me, this is how I saw this at first. the quote unquote head on the ship is what they call the bathroom on a ship. And I assumed that the Ox was just the name of the ship. So like he's trying to say like, hold the ship steady, I need to take a shit, and he's asking Mr. Walker to like help hold the toilet because it's like kind of loose and wobbly.
Yeah.
So that's the visual I had reading this at the start. But
Yeah,
I'm like, you know
because
what? That's probably not it.
Yeah, since it is in media res a little bit at the beginning here.
Yeah, my favorite. So,
I know.
but yeah, the third one, saying the, what was the third line? It's talking about like the ring through its nose and all that. I'm like, okay, Ox isn't it. So then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give this the benefit of the doubt and restart this through my head, not start on a silly note. And then I continued.
Oh, okay. I thought there was gonna be like another like it's like,
No,
and then did this.
No.
Okay, wow.
Because like I didn't want that silly idea in my head to ruin a potentially good story reading through it. So I'm like, okay, start through my head. Don't worry about that. Okay.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, gamer.
Yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
That being said, the next one.
There it
the
is.
next note. While Charlie is wrestling to hold the Ox still for Helen to shoot it, it's no secret we were sleeping together, and that's how I was conned into doing this. Little cruise after all, but I still don't feel need to blatantly parade that fact around in front of her father. So, the only other being in this scene at this point is the Ox. No other character is really referenced at this point. Because he's following someone's orders, but like the orders he could have been told the orders to go down there and deal with the Ox. So like, again, I'm having the same. I had the same thought that we got through Mikey's its story or Conjunction Junction.
Yeah.
Of him potentially sleeping with the Ox.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I wrote in my notes after this, I swear I'm trying to take this seriously. Moving on. In regards to Charlie's questioning about like what they're going to do when they catch it,
yes,
a valid question, and I personally wouldn't let that go unanswered. Because while they're doing the fishing with the ox head and stuff, if they intend to kill the creature, shouldn't they be bringing whatever weapon they need to fight the thing while they're fishing? Like every single time? Because like if they're just taking the ox thing there and fishing and then that's it, it's like, what are we going to do when it comes up? Like he should be asking more. We talked about that before, but specifically like they should be armed or with something to deal with it. Like does the ship have like a big harpoon gun on it or what?
Or the fact that there is nothing should be making him way more hella suspicious about this.
Helen suspicious?
God damn
it. Or just Hella, because that's her name as well.
Yeah. But it's Hella, Hella, yeah. But yeah, like it's definitely like so he definitely should be concerned as to why he's getting like gatekeeped or like gaslit about the whole situation.
Pretty much, yeah. The only thing I could think of as to why they don't have weapons and everything is just that the fox is wanting to basically just snap a picture and upload it to his socials and then just leave.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what else.
Is it whoa cool? Click, 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 click. Captain, get us the fuck out of here!
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
As they bring about as they bring about Ragnarok on the world.
We did it. We fucked everything. Yeah, the turn at the end was kind of cool too. They turn into monsters and all that, and the purple eyes weren't really a giveaway. Because I looked it up, and there's apparently a slim chance that you can have purple eyes.
Yeah,
so
it's
that's
just
not
rare.
It's not an unreal. Like you shouldn't have seen that coming. Being like, "Are you a magical creature? You have purple eyes." No one has that.
Yeah.
Although at that point, she could just say the contacts.
Yeah, true. No, I think it was just like it was just there, like because it's like it's strange, but it's like nothing like it's nothing out of the ordinary. But then we get that like.
Well, it is out of the ordinary, but it's nothing out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then like at the end we get that like they touch on that or they use that earlier description of the eyes color for the color of the corpse flesh that is it's on the other side, like the other half of hell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just thought it was pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically touched on everything else. Like he was fucked at the end. There's nothing he could do about it.
Yeah, it's just yep. And so he dies.
Mhm.
Actually, one question I do want to give you guys that just kind of brought up from like us talking about Hell and the purple skin and stuff.
Mhm.
How did you visualize Helen's new form? Like, was it like down the
Two-Face.
middle or across? Okay. Like
I saw
okay,
it two-faced down the middle because it said like one side of her is this, one side of her is that.
okay. Was that the same for you, Mikey?
Let's see here. Just looking for the quote.
You should need notes for this. What did you see?
Well, no, this is like a rant. Like I just like this is a spontaneous question to you guys. So
Yeah, I'm just questioning why.
Yes. So half her body was covered in pale, perfect skin. The other rotting lumps of flesh, the same purplish hues. Yeah. So recalling, I believe it was the bottom half that was purplish.
that's what you
Okay,
thought.
so you went mermaid situation.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, after 6 months, I mean, it's going to be rotten down there.
Wow. It's always the quiet ones.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But also like I don't like as soon as like I got like the description of like half her was pale perfect skin, half her was like rotting corpses, like oh she's Hell, and I know mythologically it's down the middle, like it's like one side of her face like or body is a corpse, the other half is a perfect woman. So
Yeah,
so like I kind of already knew that from the mythology and stuff, but
which kind of also clicked in for me too because I used to play Smite back in the day,
nice.
and Hell is a character in that, and she is split down the middle.
Yeah.
So I already kind of had that visual in there.
God damn, Mikey. I thought I was gonna be the one in the gutter this week. Apparently, he's just like he's just like swimming in the gutter right now.
I think you opened the gutter basically for him to just
Um,
dive in.
Excuse me,
Who was the
How
first gutter one here?
dare you, sir? You have besmirched my honor and purity.
Uh-huh.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
On to final thoughts. So yeah, I'm still gonna recommend this. As far as the contest entry or the challenge entry goes, it was a short story that definitely has an interesting take on some of the Norse mythology. It has me intrigued as to how this all fits into the Wicker Saga story like universe. But otherwise, I enjoyed the read. I like the when like Norse mythology or like when mythology meets the modern day or like is used in some context to the modern world.
Yeah, it's the reason we like Shadowrun. Sorry, Mikey.
Yeah, exactly. Or why we like the Secret World, because the Secret World is also uses like immortals, like walking among humans and like eldritch creatures and creatures from mythology and like deep secreted histories and stuff.
Mhm. But
Like
also
lying
assault
in wait.
rifles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but also assault rifles and sledgehammers instead of Mjolnir.
Yeah.
Again, it's the same thing with like the American Gods and like all those other like like the Almighty Johnsons, like that kind of stuff is just really cool. Like have it like mixing the old myths and legends of our cultural histories to the modern world with like our tech and stuff like that. It's just really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's my recommendation. I will recommend this one. Mikey, these stints for evil.
All right. Well, let's see. My main issue was that the whole sex issue.
Is it an issue? You seem to really enjoy it
Oh,
with how much you're talking about.
well, no one likes a bragger, and he was bragging about how he had all the sex, you know.
That sounds like a you problem, sir. No.
But as we also have pointed out, that he didn't really need to be on the fishing trip at all.
Yeah.
So now I did sort of enjoy there's a monster and Thor shows up and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So I'm still gonna give this a partial.
Okay. I do want to specify, like, I do think like that him wanting to get on to like be on this trip, I think that should maybe be altered in the story in like a future iteration of the story. But
Yeah, I think so.
like I think that would help the story a bit more than like or unless again the author is trying to for some reason trying to like subvert expectations of like, yeah, you thought he was going to be a sacrifice. No, he's just there and
He
dies.
doesn't have to be a sacrifice. There just needs to be a better reason for him to be there. That's my
Yeah.
only point.
Yeah.
And it also gives an opportunity to add like more background to the characters and letting them develop more, because you get to see Helen be like, I can ask, I guess.
Yeah, or just say, yeah, sure, and then like not ask, and that's why like maybe he thinks Alec is pissed off at him, not for any other reason.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and then Gamer.
Yeah. So for me,
There's your recommendation. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
recommendation.
so while Charlie could have asked more questions and probably should have, but that's fine. But seeing the Norse shenanigans going on in modern time is always neat, as we said. Although it did make it feel like a Marvel movie more than a horror movie, especially since like Thor shows up. Like I was waiting for Iron Man to roll in as well. Overall, I did like it. Out of the whole thing, though, the most creepy scene was the like graphic ox killing scene, which
Yeah,
was
I
kind
was-
of hard to read, honestly.
I think I've been desensitized when it comes to cattle killings and stuff, because like I know that bugged the hell out of me when I watched the newer Stephen King's It movie. Like there's a scene during the child sequences where like one of the kids is like working at one of those places,
Mhm.
and it bugged me when I saw it in theaters. But like I think over like the last couple of years, like I think I've gotten used to like that kind, like that animals, like farm animals and stuff, are going to get butchered. But
Yeah.
like if it had been like something else, I think I would have been a little bit more squiggy about it. But
No, I
Yeah.
get it. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
still eat burgers
Yeah.
and all that, but seeing it is just no.
yeah,
I'm
no,
not a fan. Like I could never
Yeah.
bring harm into an animal. I think
yeah, I couldn't be present. I don't think for it.
no.
I mean, I'll eat the aftermath, but I'm
It's delicious and necessary.
it's not
Yeah.
gonna turn me into a vegan.
No.
But I don't want to see it.
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, that's for me, that was the creepiest part of the whole story, which it's not supposed to be. So as a horror story, if you're wanting to read it to be scared, I won't recommend it because it's not scary.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's basically a Marvel movie. You could literally put Marvel tags on this, and it would probably be fine. So it's not really scary, but as a horror, not substance, horror aesthetic kind of thing.
Yeah, it's more aesthetic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good in that respect.
Yeah.
But yeah, also he didn't have to be there, although he should have.
Yeah,
Be there. Like all
really-
the things we talked about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think overall I'm going to change my recommendation to a partial because it's a good story and it was fun to read, but it wasn't a creepypasta in my opinion. But it was fun enough to read that I still enjoyed it enough to give it a partial.
Yeah. I will say, like when I finished reading the story and I was like getting into these final thoughts, I was like, do I recommend this?
Mhm.
And eventually I just kind of came to pieces like, yeah, I enjoyed the read, so you know what, I'm going to recommend it. But I understand where you guys are coming from. Like it is like it's definitely horror aesthetic and more like it's sort of the situation where you get with some stories or movies and stuff that are like horror epics, like, or epic horror, where like there are things that are just so grand, so much grander, and like they're more bombastic and like cinematic that like it sort of steals away the more closely knit, like creepy horror of the situation.
Mhm.
In favor, it becomes more of a thriller, I think, at that point. But
Yeah.
but on the more cinematic side, beginning like because when like thinking of this, like this, when you're dealing with gods, like especially Norse gods, yeah, you're in our day and age, you're going to think of like Thor from Marvel and stuff like that. But,
Yeah.
unless you like make it really like gritty and like, no, it's like horrifying, like what they're doing. It's like, but in this one, even this one, like it's like they're not splatting people. They're like everything's really flashy, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, no,
Like I said, you could use this as a pitch to an opening to the next Marvel movie.
Yeah. Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I understand where you guys are coming from, but like, and you even like changing yours to a partial recommendation. Like, I can see what you're coming from on that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I guess that'll be it for this week's episode. So, one tentative recommendation, because like I'm still like I'm not willing to give it a partial just yet, but like it's teetering, like the boat ready to capsize.
Yeah. It has Strong Lady in it, so I get it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what?
I see through you.
And two partial recommendations. But yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below. It gets posted. We're all on Twitter or X.
To a degree.
Mikey,
I don't know if I am anymore.
I mean, that's fair. Honestly, that's a fair. But anyway, Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow was at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W. But because his name's very long.
It really is.
And I'm at Review Cultist. I'm also on Blue Sky as Review Cultist, so you can send me messages there or check me out there. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTS@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah! And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tiers with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely. Because without your listenership, they'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, hell, without Shadow Swimmer's Wicker Saga stories that we've been kind of going through and like diving into and learning about, and like the fact that they wrote them and shared them online for people to enjoy and dive into, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.